When you first look at something like a local community newsletter, you might just see a list of events, maybe some new restaurants opening up. But if you look a little closer at what's happening in Bentonville, Arkansas, well, it's something way more fascinating. It's like we've stumbled upon the actual operational blueprint for a city being built in hyperdrive. This isn't just a town that's growing. It's a city that's being deliberately, meticulously designed.
And if you need one number to put this all in perspective, here it is. 217,000. That is the projected population for Bentonville by the year 2050. We're talking about more than tripling its current size. I mean, that's not just growth. That's ambition on an absolutely massive scale.
Which, of course, brings us to the central question of this whole explainer. How in the world do you actually do that? How do you build the infrastructure, the economy, and, yeah, even the culture for a city of the future, starting today? Well, it turns out Bentonville has a very, very specific answer. So, here's how we're going to break it all down. We'll start with the overall grand design, then look at how they're crafting a daily vibe. You can think of that as the city's software. Then we'll get a taste of the economic explosion with the Boomtown menu, before digging into the blueprint from Metropolis, the actual hardware. And finally, we'll ask the big question. Is this a model for the future?
All right, first things first, crafting that daily vibe. See, long before you can build skyscrapers and highways, you have to build a reason for people to want to live there in the first place. So Bentonville is laser-focused on the software, all the experiences and the community life that make a place feel alive right now.
And that starts with the big splashy stuff. We're talking major festivals that mix music with the outdoors, professional networking events to build business connections, and cool, unique concerts. These are the anchor events, the ones that get the city on the map and draw people in from all over.
But here's the really smart part. It's how they pair those big one-off events with a consistent weekly rhythm. A farmer's market every single Saturday, live jazz every Wednesday, a block party on the first Friday of every month. This stuff isn't just for tourists, it's for the people who live there. It's the steady drumbeat that turns a random location into a real community.
And this right here perfectly illustrates just how deep that commitment to culture goes. Bentonville doesn't just have one world-class art museum, it has two. You've got Crystal Bridges focusing on American art and the Momentary for all things contemporary. But here's the most important part, the real game changer. Both are completely 100% free to get into. That is a massive, deliberate investment in making culture accessible to everyone.
Okay, so now let's see how all this cultural energy translates into economic energy. Because all that activity, all those people, they need to be fueled, literally. And one of the most visible signs of any boomtown is an explosion of new restaurants. So let's take a look what we're calling the Boomtown menu.
So let's just run through a few of these rapid fire. First up, you've got Chicken Heads. This is a perfect example of a locally owned business that saw what was happening in Bentonville and decided, yep, we gotta move here.
Then there's Wright's Barbecue, already a local legend. But notice the strategic placement. They just opened a brand new spot right on the massive new Walmart home office campus. Folks, that is not a coincidence. You're also seeing a lot more sophistication in the offerings. The Compton isn't just a restaurant, it's a whole experience. We're talking a high-end steakhouse, a swanky cocktail bar, and a community cafe, all under one roof.
And right in the heart of downtown, you get something like Townie Burgers and Bevies, a cool, elevated take on a classic burger joint. It just adds to the quality and variety right there on the city square.
And finally, we have something as simple and essential as a classic New York-style bagel shop. Just a small, focused business. Now, I want you to hold that thought, the idea of a simple bagel shop, because the contrast with what we're about to see next is, well, it's pretty staggering. From the small human scale of Benny's Bagels, we are now zooming way, way out to the massive scale of the city's hardware. This is the concrete, the steel, the policy, the very foundation that underpins everything else. This is the blueprint for a metropolis. And you can see the scale of this hardware immediately. This isn't just some generic apartment building. This is a $35 million development built specifically for teachers and school staff. And why? Well, think about it. If you want to attract 217,000 people, you need great schools. And to get great schools, you need to attract and keep great teachers. It's a brilliant strategic solution to a really fundamental need. And you have to understand, none of this is happening by accident. It is all being guided by this document, the Future Land Use Map. Seriously, think of it as the city's official roadmap all the way to 2050.
And what's so important here is the input. Almost 4,700 residents gave feedback. This isn't just some plan dreamed up in a back room. There's real community buy-in.
So, the million-dollar question, or in this case, billion-dollar question, how do you pay for it all? Well, the city's approach is fascinating. Okay, so all this growth puts a strain on stuff like, say, wastewater systems. So the city creates a fee of almost $8,000, but, and this is key, it only targets new developments. Then, the Alice L. Walton Foundation steps in to buy a crucial bond. And the result? The system gets a necessary upgrade, and the people who already live there are shielded from a jaw-dropping 90% rate hike. It's just so surgical.
And this table just lays out the sheer, mind-boggling scale of this hardware build-out. You've got a huge mixed-use project that's also restoring historic buildings, a $30 million apartment complex, a $60 million 98-acre public park, and a new $22 million rec center. And just look at those funding sources. Blue Crane, Walmart, WFF, that's the Walton Family Foundation. You see, it's all part of this deeply interconnected and incredibly coordinated strategy.
Okay, so what does this all add up to? Let's try to connect all the dots now and ask that big question. Is what we're seeing in Bentonville really a model for the future of city building? If there's one core takeaway, it's this right here. None of what we've just seen is random. It's not just organic sprawl happening by chance. It is a highly deliberate fusion of public planning, like that land use map, with massive and, maybe more importantly, coordinated private investment, all coming from entities that share a single unified vision for the future.
You can really think of it like an engine. It all works together. You start by building the community and culture, which in turn generates real economic energy. That growth is then guided by smart, strategic policy, which makes it possible to build these massive development projects. And those projects then support the next wave of growth, and the whole cycle just fuels itself, getting bigger and stronger each time.
Which leaves us with one final, huge question to chew on. We are literally watching a city being constructed in real time, with an incredibly clear plan and almost unbelievable resources. So is this the blueprint? Is this some kind of unique phenomenon, only possible in Bentonville? Or is this a replicable model for how you intentionally design an American city for the 21st century?